With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US. Are you ready to take control of your health? At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. Say goodbye to long waits and office visits. Check your health on your own terms with 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today and free yourself from traditional medicine. That's the number 4uhealth.com.
Americans are durable. We take pride in hard work and high quality. American Giant makes durable, quality clothing right here in the USA, because what we wear reflects who we are. When you buy American Giant, you're not just wearing the best clothes money can buy. You're helping keep jobs and pride in your own backyard. Premium clothing built to last decades, like it should. Get 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code RightHere24.
It's been 24 hours since Greg Williams was shot and killed in his own bed. Under police questioning, Michelle said her husband, a 40-year-old successful entrepreneur, had committed suicide, and it was out of compassion for their daughter that she had staged the crime scene to make it look like a home invasion murder.
I had to do this major impromptu within seconds.
Michelle admitted to tampering with evidence at the scene and was allowed to go home. But as investigators would soon learn, the case of Greg Williams was far from closed.
She had told so many stories, I don't think she kept track of what stories she told. If you tell the truth, your story doesn't change.
From Dallas, Texas, this is Final Days on Earth, Season 3, The Life and Death of Greg Williams. Episode 4, The Timeline, Part 1. I'm your host, Claire Sandomal. Thanks for listening. The following episode includes descriptions of a fatal crime scene. Please take care while listening. In complicated murder investigations, a thorough timeline of events is key to understanding the crime. And the case of Greg Williams is riddled with gaping holes and confounding mysteries. I've spent 11 years studying this case, first as a local reporter for a website called Culture Map Dallas, and later as a producer for 48 Hours on CBS News. But I've never felt like I fully understood the dynamics of the crime, and that's why I wanted to devote this season of my podcast to all the dirty details. In this special 2-part episode, I'm diving deep into the timeline before, during, and after the shooting. It's a wild ride, but stick with me, because everything will come full circle back to Greg Williams' murder and his wife Michelle's web of lies. Let's get started. The months leading up to the shooting were filled with a frenzy of activity at the Williams home. Greg's oldest daughter, Taylor, had recently moved out after her stepmom, Michelle, had accused her of using drugs, and a whole lot more.
She poisoned me with drugs and ended up in the psych wards for residential living and all that for a while.
Steve McSwain, who worked on the security side of Greg's computer business, was tapped to help with Taylor's alleged drug problem.
I would go and search the house. I found drugs in the toy box one time, like a little baggie of pills. So, yes, at the time, we thought that, Taylor was doing this, and we were finding evidence, and who else would have put it there but Taylor, right?
This is Taylor's mom, Kathy.
She was a child. She was just barely, she was 12 years old. She spent her 13th birthday over at the rehab center in Denton.
The doctor there didn't believe a word I said, took everything that my dad and stepmother had at face value.
We learned in episode 1 that Michelle's accusations against Taylor started in September 2010. But what we haven't talked about is what happened in the midst of Taylor's ordeal. In December 2010, with Taylor's uncle, Bryn Fletcher. During a business trip, Bryn mysteriously dropped off the radar.
And I called Greg and told him that I had not seen Bryn yet. And he said, okay, hang on, I'll make some calls.
Bryn worked hand in hand with Steve at Greg's computer company. Since the office was in Greg's house, Bryn also spent a lot of time around Michelle Williams. Like Kathy, Bryn and his wife were skeptical of claims that 12-year-old Taylor was doing hard drugs and poisoning her stepmom. This is Bryn's wife, who, as you know, is also named Michelle.
And the night before he went out of town, that was a conversation that we had. We could not understand for the life of us how Taylor, who just rides the bus back and forth to school, can get hold of these strong, potent drugs to supposedly drug Michelle's coffee. The last conversation we had was talking about that.
Michelle Fletcher says the days leading up to her husband's disappearance were unremarkable, if not jolly. It was late December 2010, and the couple was looking forward to the Christmas holidays. The morning of his ill-fated business trip, Michelle sent Bryn off with a tin of blueberry muffins and an I love you. She never imagined it would be his final day on Earth.
You know, I kissed him goodbye, and he left, and that was it. I'd usually always call him on my break, you know, so I went to call him on my break, and I called and called and called, got no answer. You know, I tried all day long.
Bryn was supposed to be headed to Waco, a college town in central Texas, for a job with Greg's company. It's less than a 2-hour drive from his house. Like his wife said he always did when he traveled for work, Bryn packed his gun, a .357 Ruger Magnum.
And Bryn was usually, ahead of me. And so I thought it was strange that he wasn't there yet. And I waited a little bit after the time we were supposed to meet, and I called Greg. But I think at that point they were already concerned that, something had happened to Bryn.
His wife sprang into action.
When I couldn't find Bryn, I went to the police station to file a missing persons report. And when they asked for who, and I told them, they said, don't worry about filing the report right now. We have officers en route to your house. My 2 younger kids and Taylor, they were here. They gotten home from school, and they were out on the porch, and a police officer pulls up and comes and tells us that they found his truck.
According to the Ellis County Sheriff's Office, Bryn died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside his work truck. His body was found at 4:35 p.m. on December 20th, 2010, off Highway 34 in Ennis, Texas.
Greg actually called me and, let me know what had happened.
In the police report, it says the gun was resting on Bryn's chest, clutched in both hands. The gunshot wound was described as being to his right eye.
And did you know that Bryn typically took a gun when he went on these road trips, these work trips? Was that something you were aware of?
Not aware of it, but I could see that, just for protection. And I think Greg took a gun everywhere he went, and I do too most of the time when I go somewhere.
Texas, right?
Yeah.
Bryn's wife was in shock.
Like, he's there one minute, he's gone the next. You're telling me he's dead? They didn't even let me go identify his body or anything, which made it feel unreal.
After giving Michelle Fletcher the death notification for her husband, local police started dealing exclusively with another contact, Michelle Williams.
What Michelle did is she took over the whole damn thing. Because whenever they found the truck that Bryn had been driving was a company truck. So it had Greg's company phone number on there. Well, Michelle's the office manager, so that's the first number they called when they found Bryn's truck.
At this point in time, Michelle Williams is presenting as a normal, upstanding member of society. She has no criminal record, and we're still about a year away from Greg's fatal shooting. To local police and most everyone else, it appears she's just helping out her extended family in a crisis situation.
Did you know that Michelle was involved with talking to the police about Bryn and with working with the coroner, and did you know about that?
Yes, I was always under the belief that Greg was telling her, giving her the instructions of what to do. But I always just heard it from her.
In the police reports about Bryn's death, Michelle Williams, not Michelle Fletcher, is recorded as the best contact for information about the investigation. Dispatch advised that she was the one talking to them because the wife has been hysterical from him missing all day, the report reads.
Why do you think she wanted to communicate so much with the police?
So she could stay on top of everything, see what was going on, see what they thought, control the whole situation.
I also asked Steve McSwain his opinion on Michelle Williams' involvement.
So at the time, did it seem unusual that Michelle Williams was so involved with these decisions about Bryn's remains?
Not to me, because like I said, I knew Greg was looking out for his sister. Going back to, that was just the way Greg was. He looked out for family. And so nothing to me seemed out of kilter there.
In her initial conversation with police, Michelle Williams said Bryn was suicidal, and she claimed he had tried to kill himself with prescription drugs in the past. Michelle Fletcher disputes that characterization. This is her interpretation of Bryn's so-called suicide attempt, which occurred 3 years before his death.
Bryn was pretty passive and diplomatic, okay? He didn't really get worked up that easily. But my brother had him working a whole lot of hours, and he was wore out. And my brother didn't seem to understand, or didn't seem to get it. And Bryn, when he did have enough with some stuff, he could be, as he would say, he'd be a little OTT about getting his point across. I had some anxiety medication at the house, and he actually took it with him. He parked around the corner from my brother's house, and he popped these pills, and he passed out in the truck.
Michelle Fletcher believes Bryn was trying to send Greg a message.
Just tell my brother, hey, I'm wore the hell out, whatever. I know it's a bit odd for him to go about things that way, but that's what he did.
When Bryn didn't come home from work that day, and Michelle Fletcher couldn't get a hold of him on the phone, she called her brother Greg.
Then I got a phone call back, and it was freaking Michelle telling me that they found Bryn. They found him around the corner from their house at the Home Depot, and that he tried to kill himself, and that they couldn't wake him up, and they had to bust the glass to get him out of there.
They took Bryn to the emergency room, where he was treated for an overdose.
Basically, he'd taken the anxiety pills, quite a few of them, but there was also a bottle of Tylenol in the truck as well, okay? Yeah. And if he'd have taken the Tylenol with that, then it would have killed him. But he didn't. If he wanted to kill himself, Bryn was a smart guy. He would have known to take this and that, and you're done.
Hey, it's Claire Sanema, host of Final Days on Earth. Have you ever signed up for something and then totally forgotten about it? I just learned that 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now, I'm saving money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/finaldays today. That's rocketmoney.com/finaldays. rocketmoney.com/finaldays.
Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. We put every machine through 6,000 rigorous tests to guarantee long-lasting performance. With cutting-edge technology and a commitment to energy efficiency, Gevi makes your life easier, greener, and more convenient. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more. That's gevi.com.
If that's going to be called a suicide attempt, wouldn't it need to be something that could actually be capable of killing you?
Exactly. And so basically, Bryn knew that my brother would go around the corner from his house and see him pass the fuck out in the truck. Excuse my language. But he knew that he'd go over there and see him, and maybe he'd get the hint, like, hey, look, he was too tired to even make it home. You know what I mean? That's all that was. But that's what they're calling a suicide attempt.
For local police in 2010, everything they saw and heard lined up with the theory that Bryn committed suicide. But his wife never believed it.
They weren't even listening to me at a certain point. They were convinced that he killed himself, and I was traumatized, and I just couldn't let it go. So basically, they dismissed everything that I said.
When it came time to decide what to do with Bryn's body, Michelle Williams once again took charge.
When did you find out that she had signed the paperwork for Bryn to be cremated?
That was the next day. He was cremated the very next day.
The final police report pronouncing case closed says Bryn used his right hand to shoot himself in the right eye. But Bryn was left-handed.
You know, when everyone around you says, oh, Michelle, you're just going crazy. You just need to let go. Just get over it. And I'm over here. It's freaking 10 months apart.
I talked to Greg's friend Steve about the possible connection.
Do you think that it's possible that Greg is not her only victim?
Man, I never thought about that. I don't think so. I mean, I can't imagine it. I've replayed it in my mind that, you know, how could she have gone from Keller to out towards Terrell and back, and Greg not, you know, knowing that she had left the house.
Bryn's wife has a theory on that, and it involves a popular shopping destination.
And her alibi, she didn't need an alibi at the time, but the day is when she just kept saying that she was at Target. She said she was at Target that day. That she kept going on and on that day about Bryn's death. On and on and on, like she was personally traumatized by it or of some sorts. And she kept on going into where she was at constantly. Nobody was asking for her for anything, any kind of alibi, but she kept having to volunteer that she was at Target.
UTIs are the worst. I've been there. One year, I had 8 UTIs. If you get UTIs, then you understand how awful the cycle can be. I was taking all the precautions, and cranberry products, they just never worked for me. I was desperate for a way to be proactive. It was hard on me and on my husband.
It was tough to see her in pain, and I wanted to help.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Spencer.
With Spencer's background in biochemistry
and our shared frustration when it came to UTIs, we were inspired to start Eucora.
At Eucora, we make innovative urinary tract supplements and UTI relief products. Our effective urinary tract supplements finally give you a way to be proactive.
Feel like you've tried everything? We get it. We have a money-back guarantee so you can try risk-free. If you're not happy, you'll get a full refund.
We're on a mission to help women get their lives back. Ready to join them?
Get 30% off Eucora when you go to eucora.com/audio. That's UQORA.com/audio.
Less than a year after Bryn Fletcher died of a single gunshot wound to the right side of his head with his own gun, Greg Williams would suffer the same fate. In both cases, Michelle Williams would ultimately tell the police the men had committed suicide.
When did you start to get suspicious about Michelle Williams' involvement in your husband's death?
When she went straight to where he supposedly was located.
The police report for Bryn's case simply stated that his truck was found a quarter mile from the Trinity River. It's a vague description, but somehow Michelle Williams knew exactly where to go.
He had family that came in from out of town, and they wanted to see, where it happened. And so Michelle was driving and basically loaded up all of Bryn's family in the caravan. And all she has in her hand at the time to tell her where it happened at is the police report. That basically all it says on the police report is a quarter mile from, like the Trinity River or something. That's all it said on there. You can put that in your GPS and you already know. It's not going to take you anywhere. So Michelle, in all her wisdom, she took us to that spot, this one particular spot. So how did she know? How did she pinpoint that location with no actual address?
Because Bryn was from England, he relied on Michelle, the office manager, to plan his driving routes for work.
And every time that he went out of town or went anywhere, Michelle always gave him the directions and which way to go.
With everything you know today, do you think Michelle Williams killed your husband?
Yes, I still do.
And what role do you think she played in his death?
I don't know if she's the one that pulled the trigger. I know she was there, and I know she knows where he was, and I know she knows what happened. But she's never going to tell anybody because she doesn't care about anybody else.
There are several details from the scene of Bryn's death that seem to support a connection to Greg's murder. Both men were shot at close range, with their own guns, in the right side of their heads. Greg was lying on the left side of the bed. Bryn was sitting in the driver's seat of his truck. In both scenes, there was a space on the right side for a shooter. And in both cases, there was an item used to muffle the gunshot. In Greg's case, it was a blanket.
It appears it might have went through a blanket, whether like a blanket or something might have been used to muffle the sound.
And in Bryn's, it was a pillow. An item that his wife didn't recognize at all.
That pillow was discovered, and it's in the pictures, just appeared out of nowhere. I'd never seen it before.
Michelle Fletcher also noticed something else curious in the photos from the scene.
And then if you look in the bottom floorboard in that truck, you can actually, it looks like there is a Clorox wipe at the bottom in the truck. And what did she do after she killed my brother? What did she do? She cleaned up the whole freaking house with Clorox wipes.
Clorox wipes. I use Clorox wipes all over my house.
If you look at the pictures on the inside of that truck, on the actual driver's side seat where he would have been, there's a smear where someone would have tried to clean it up. And on the opposite side of the truck, there's a fingerprint on the seat, on the passenger seat.
It's never been identified?
No.
Based on the timing of Bryn's death, his wife has developed a theory for why Michelle Williams would have wanted him dead.
She had to silence Bryn because Bryn would see too much being in the house. Bryn didn't fall into her little scheme of things.
Remember, back in December 2010, Michelle was still accusing her stepdaughter Taylor of poisoning her with drugs. She had even upped the ante to claim Taylor was drugging her little sister. All of this led to severe consequences for the preteen.
Like, I had no privileges that any other kid would have. Like, I had a lock on my closet door. My room was literally just a bed, and I had a TV on my wall but couldn't use it, and I had to sleep with my door open.
Gosh, Taylor, that's so terrible. You were like almost in a semi-detention phase in your own home.
Pretty much. And then I felt like I couldn't, go and do anything or be with the family without, the other proverbial shoe dropping. I would literally be terrified to walk in my own front door sometimes.
I know Taylor didn't do it, but that's the last thing. The last conversation we had was talking about that. And I truly believe that Bryn saw something to indicate that Taylor was innocent over all that, because Michelle was literally setting her up, because Michelle didn't want Taylor in the house.
At the time, no one could prove that Michelle was the one planting drugs in the house to frame her stepdaughter. She was still presenting as the doting housewife, the caring mother who prepared dinner for her family every night. But what exactly was she putting on their plates? Taylor has a vivid memory of one night Michelle served the whole family chicken pot pie.
And all I remember after that is throwing up for 3 or 4 days straight. And nobody else got sick. I was the only one that started throwing up.
Taylor had a target on her back in the Williams household, and it was just a matter of time before Michelle got her stepdaughter out of the picture, one way or another.
So I believe that he saw something to indicate that Michelle set Taylor up. And he was just trying to find a good way to approach my brother and tell him about it. That's what I believe. And Michelle knows that Bryn would have confided in Greg and told Greg the truth, and Greg would have listened to Bryn. So I think she needed to silence Bryn for something that he saw, whether it was the Taylor situation or something else.
On the next episode of Final Days on Earth, the life and death of Greg Williams. Authorities uncover a new deception with Michelle's fingerprints all over it.
It was obvious once they saw it, but it all went through all the different channels and no one caught it yet.
Is the clock running out on Michelle's deadly game?
Anybody and everybody that stood in the way of her and, her motivation, like she truly believed she was going to get by with killing Greg. She almost did.
Final Days on Earth is produced in Dallas, Texas for Rebel Studios. Each episode is reported and written by me, Claire Sanamaw, and Susan Passoni. Original theme music composed and performed by Riley Simmons. Additional music licensed from PremiumBeat.com is Bending Truth and A Thin Line. Special thanks to Kathy Williams, Taylor Williams, Michelle Fletcher, and Steve McSwain for talking to me in this episode. If you have any information about the cases I cover, please get in touch through my website, finaldaysonearth.com. If you want to support this show, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening right now.